promo code BILL at HomeTitleLock.com, and you'll get a free title history report. Plus, you will get a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts of any changes, and if fraud does happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. That's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code BILL.
Are you searching for an excellent new vehicle or a great deal on a used one? Then check out Tyler Trineri, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. Tim Jones here to tell you what loyal Tyler Trineri customers already know. Every new vehicle and select used ones come with an exclusive lifetime warranty. And Tyler Trineri has a service department second to none. I should know. I've been a loyal and happy customer for years. For the best price, selection, and the amazing lifetime warranty, check out Tyler Trineri today, right off Interstate 44 in beautiful Pacific, Missouri. Online at TylerTrineri.com, TylerTrineri.com.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
Hey guys, Jefferson County Councilman Billy Crow here from Jeffco Patriot Radio. On behalf of Tim Jones and I just want to thank you for making Jeffco Patriot Radio the #1 listened to show on Sundays here on News Talk STL, where we dive into all the things happening in and around Jefferson County. Check Tim Jones and I out on Jeffco Patriot Radio this and every Sunday at high noon here on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
Time now for the O'Reilly Update message of the day. On this Wednesday, God help me, I'm going to criticize Joe Biden again. Why? Guy's gone and nobody's looking for him. But I can't stop with the former president. It's a compulsive disorder or something. Now, last Sunday, Mr. Biden received a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Edward M. Kennedy Institute in Boston. Okay, fine. The liberals love Joe. Why? I'm not sure. As a senator, Biden was a tough guy on crime and opposed busing as a tool for student integration. Kamala Harris took great exception to that, as you may remember. But now, Joe Biden is a liberal icon. Accepting the award, Mr. Biden said this, quote, "I know the idea of America depends on our respect for the institutions that govern and guarantee a free society. It depends on a presidency with limited powers." No, Joe, that's incorrect. The founders wanted strong, assertive presidents. Limited powers? Washington, Lincoln, Jackson, the Roosevelts all wielded enormous power. Even James K. Polk used his authority to expand the nation from coast to coast. Polk did that by issuing orders Congress stood by and watched. So, as I suspected, President Biden has no idea what the executive branch is empowered to do. The president is supposed to be a strong leader. As I wrote in Confronting the Presidents, Joe Biden was the second worst chief executive in American history. This kind of proves it. I'm Bill O'Reilly. I approve the message by writing it. You can reach me, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, name and town if you wish to opine. Now let's go to the mail. DeVitt is on our message board. If you're a BillO'Reilly.com concierge or premium member, you get to go on the message board, make a lot of friends, and express yourself. Here's what DeWitt says. Honestly, people I know who talk about the ballroom at the White House have no idea what's going on. Trump's trip to China is the most consequential event of the last 10 years. If he could pull off a deal, that would make the world much safer. Absolutely right. Sharon, concierge member. And if you do want to check out concierge membership or premium membership, go to BillO'Reilly.com. And if you want to give a great gift, concierge membership is an excellent gift to give somebody. Sharon says, I believe China will always align with Russia and North Korea as they think alike. The triangle is written in stone. China's going to do what benefits it economically. That communist cabal, it's gone. Don, like you say, Bill, I like most of what you say, Bill, but rather than see China as an annoyance, I see them as an actual threat. Much of what they do is centered against America. True. But you have to deal with them unless it gets out of control. Josh Sorensen, Bakersfield, California, longtime listener and viewer. I really appreciate your common sense approach to the world. You said in your column today that China cultivates controversy, much like Donald Trump. Will you give some specific examples of that? I mean, there's a million of them, but how about the balloons floating all over the United States? That was totally unnecessary. Why did you do that? Ralph, everyone says we need a new immigration law. What's missing from the current law? How about adjudicating 20 million undocumented migrants because of the Joe Biden administration? How about that? That's a new circumstance. In a moment, something you might not know. Ready for flu season or not? Too many families wait until they're sick and then rush to urgent care. Don't make that mistake. Be proactive and start preparing now. Go to All Family Pharmacy. They are different from the big chains. They don't push flu shots as the only answer. Instead, they believe in medical freedom, giving you access to options. More than 200 medications available, from daily prescriptions to advanced biohacking products. And every order includes a doctor's prescription, no insurance required. So stock up today on Tamiflu, antibiotics, antivirals, ivermectin, even flu kits and vitamins for immune support. Orders ship fast, overnight shipping available if you need it right away. Please visit All Family Pharmacy, one word, allfamilypharmacy.com/Bill. Use code BILL10 to save 10%. Don't wait. Get ahead of the
Is
flu
diabetes
season.
keeping you from enjoying life's special moments? At US Med, we understand the challenges you face, and we're here to help.
With US Med, I can finally manage my diabetes without it managing me.
US Med offers a wide range of services to simplify your diabetes care. Personalized care plans, convenient access to cutting-edge diabetes tech, and knowledgeable support. Plus, we'll check your insurance so your diabetes care may be covered at little or no cost to you.
With US Med, I feel confident and control of my diabetes. I can finally live my life to the fullest.
Don't let diabetes hold you back. Choose US Med and experience better birthdays, better adventures, better anniversaries, and better everything. Call now. US Med. Better service, better care. 800-515-2380. 800-515-2380. 800-515-2380. That's 800-515-2380.
Now, the O'Reilly update brings you something you might not know. 8 years ago today, the biggest controversy in the history of the National Football League swept the USA. The explosive saga involved every team and even the President of the United States. Here is the story behind Colin Kaepernick and kneeling during the national anthem. Born 1987 to a white mother and black father, Kaepernick was adopted by a Caucasian couple in rural Wisconsin. The family soon moved to Central California. After playing football at the University of Nevada, the quarterback was drafted by the San Francisco 49ers. In 2016, Kaepernick began kneeling during the performance of the Star-Spangled Banner before games. According to the athlete, he was taking a knee to protest racism in America. Other players soon followed. The protest drew national attention. While some defended Kaepernick's constitutional right, others, including major politicians, criticized him for being unpatriotic. A few months after the kneeling began, President Trump issued the following statement, quote, "I think what Kaepernick's doing is a terrible thing, a sad thing. He should find a country that works better for him. Let him try. It won't happen," unquote. The controversy split the league. Some coaches encouraged the athletes to express themselves. Others asked players to remain inside of the locker rooms during the national anthem. To appease angry fans, TV networks began their broadcasts after the anthem was performed. Kaepernick was eventually blackballed by the NFL. He has not played football since 2017, 8 years. Kneeling during the anthem was prohibited by Football Commissioner Roger Goodell 1 year later. Today, the controversy has faded. Despite that, Colin Kaepernick paid a steep price. He was scorned publicly, lost his career. The message? Dissent can be very problematic. Back after this. Hey, Bill O'Reilly here. Still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. With the free Upside app, you can earn real cash back every time you fill up. Just download Upside from the App Store or Google Play and use promo code BILL. Get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first tank. Listeners are earning $200 to $300 a year from buying gas they already need. Cash out anytime your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Now, I thought it was too good to be true, but it's legit. People are getting paid to commute. You can too. So don't wait. Download the free Upside app now. Use promo code BILL to claim your bonus. That's promo code BILL. Offers vary by user and location. Visit upside.com for terms and conditions. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
This is News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Russia's leader claims it has successfully tested a powerful new underwater drone. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
Putin's statement on Wednesday comes 3 days after he praised a successful test of a new nuclear-powered cruise missile. It appears to be another message to President Donald Trump that Russia is standing firm in its maximalist demands for Ukraine. Putin adds the Poseidon drone was successfully tested while running on nuclear power for the first time on Tuesday, describing it as a huge success. He declares that Poseidon's unmatched in its speed and depth, and there's no way to intercept it. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
The Federal Reserve cut its key interest rate Wednesday for a second time this year as it seeks to shore up economic growth and hiring, even as inflation stays elevated. The move comes amid a fraught time for the central bank, with hiring sluggish and yet inflation stuck above the Fed's 2% target. President Trump says he's reached a trade deal with South Korea.
On the last stop of his Asia trip, the president announced that a deal had been struck and was pretty much finalized. Later, the South Korean government confirmed a $350 billion investment package in the U.S. to include cash payments and shipbuilding cooperation. Also, U.S. tariffs on South Korean cars will be lowered from 25% to 15%.
White House correspondent Greg Clugston. Hurricane Melissa has left a trail of destruction across Cuba, Haiti, and Jamaica. Officials say at least 23 people died across Haiti and Cuba. Officials report collapsed houses and blocked roads with 735,000 people in shelters. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 74 points. More at townhall.com.
If you have an IRA or 401k, then this message is definitely one you need to hear. The price of 1 troy ounce of silver has more than doubled in the past 24 months, and silver is poised for huge gains in the near term. That's why when you call Advantage Gold at 800-741-GOLD, you'll be positioned for the next wave of dramatic growth in precious metals. The devaluation of the U.S. dollar and the volatility of the stock market all play a part in why silver continues to be a safe haven location for your assets, and why precious metals continue to dominate in an uncertain financial climate. Learn more when you call 800-741-GOLD. We'll send you a free precious metals guide, plus a copy of former IMF Chairman Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. The time is now for you to consider silver to protect your retirement. Call Advantage Gold at 800-741-4653 right now. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-741-GOLD.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Been a rainy, cool, raw morning and afternoon out there, but the good news is in the metro area, the rain will be tapering off as we go through the evening to our southeast, and we'll see drier weather. Be chilly overnight with lows down to about 40 degrees in the morning, and a dry day with some sunny skies at times and not as windy on Thursday. We are looking for dry conditions on Halloween as well. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Is your portfolio prepared for the biggest risks facing investors today? Hi, it's Tim Jones. High inflation and a rapidly changing economy may impact your investments. If you haven't made appropriate changes, your portfolio may not be positioned to address some of the biggest risks in today's economy. That means it's time to request your free portfolio review from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on News Talk STL 101.9. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create a portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free portfolio review, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
What happens next?
The Democrats appear perfectly happy to keep the political theater going.
Happens right here.
Many of you have asked all of us, how will it end? We have no idea.
101.9 and 94.1.
The best talk in St. Louis.
News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
My colleagues and I remain squarely focused on achieving our dual mandate goals of maximum employment and stable prices for the benefit of the American people. Although some important federal government data have been delayed due to the shutdown, the public and private sector data that have remained available suggests that the outlook for employment and inflation has not changed much since our meeting in September. Conditions in the labor market appear to be gradually cooling, and inflation remains somewhat elevated. In support of our goals and in light of the balance of risks to employment and inflation, today, the Federal Open Market Committee decided to lower our policy interest rate by a 1/4 percentage point.
Sometimes, actually most of the time when Jerome Powell speaks, I just generally want to respond by saying, shut your mouth. That guy, the markets were up in the green all day today, reaching new record levels. By the way, folks, the Dow Jones Industrials up over 5,000 points in the last 6 months. And then, Chris, when Jerome Powell started speaking, because he always puts in fear and trepidation, the Dow dropped dramatically this afternoon and then slightly rebounded after he wrapped up.
Yeah, I'm not an economics person, so I can't speak too confidently on that. But you look at yesterday, there were a lot of job cuts yesterday. UPS, the company I worked for 10 years, was always a stability of jobs. You were never going to get laid off at UPS. You had a job for life. They said that they were slashing 40,000 jobs, which is something that's absolutely unheard of. Target and other big companies have slashed jobs as well. You would normally think that when the economy is cooling and the rate cut is given, that usually gives the market impetus that more money is going to flow and businesses are going to have capital to expand. So until I read more about it, I don't know exactly why the market went down. I don't know if it's something he said.
I'll tell you what he said.
Yep.
Later in his remarks, so the market was expecting a rate cut, and we got a rate cut today.
Mm-hmm.
And so the market had priced that in, and that's why it was up. Until he said, but we're not sure if we're going to continue to cut rates later in the year or not. And that uncertainty that he injected near the end of his remarks was the exact moment that the Dow turned from green to red in the afternoon.
And like I said, I'm not a stock market person. I'm not an expert or anything. I think one of the aspects of it, too, that has the markets kind of jittery is there wasn't any economic data that has been released because of the government shutdown. So really, in a sense, you're kind of flying blind, don't really know where the economy is at. I think that factors into it as well. I'm not a Jay Powell fan at all, but I think there's a lot of factors that are involved.
I think he's an overly political Fed chair. I think that's been proven by his comments over the last several years. The underlying economics that we've seen reported over the last few months have been really positive. As I said, inflation under Donald Trump, the first 10 months in office, 2.5%. GDP numbers. Remember when Barack Obama said that we would never have 3% GDP again, and we would need to get to the new normal of 2% or less? Donald Trump's first few quarters in office, we have exceeded 3% GDP growth. So I think there are some soft spots in the economy. This AI revolution is definitely something people are a little nervous about and how that's going to affect us. But overall, I think the bones of the economy have been shorn up over the last year or so.
I see that, but also I see yesterday 5 big, large companies have laid off tens of thousands of people. Whenever you have job
which is why you
layoffs.
cut rates, which is why you cut rates. And you don't say, well, I may not cut rates. I'm telling you, that's exactly what happened this afternoon. He put uncertainty into the rate cuts, and that's when the market dropped right at the exact point. That is a direct causation. I was watching it live on the Fox Business Channel. So that's what happened. Hey, we got a lot to get to on the lawfare and the legal front this afternoon as well. And some breaking news just came out this afternoon. National Review reporting that the FBI sent nearly 200 subpoenas targeting conservatives. We'll speak with Zack Smith about that and a lot of the action going on at the Supreme Court. Chris, we always have lots of legal news to discuss with our legal fellow from the Heritage Foundation.
Always. And our good buddy Joey has a clip on this, and it was actually one of the questions that I am going to ask Zack about is the court is going to re-examine possibly gay marriage. I remember that Clarence Thomas brought this up last year. He was talking about maybe it should be taken a look at, but no one ever took that serious. And now we see that the court's going to look at that. So can't wait to get his input on that.
Mm-hmm. In addition, I thought I saw a headline the other day about the I wasn't imagining this in an unusual move. It happens sometimes, but it happens rarely. Remember that Louisiana redistricting case we discussed with Zack recently? The court is holding a re-argument in that redistricting case, which is a rare move. Apparently, the justices wanted some more information on whether or not they should change this precedent that's been in place under the Voting Rights Act for many decades.
Yeah, and the court is, of course, examining that, and Republicans are very giddy about that because if that is weakened, some of that Section 2, I think, the speculation that could add 10 to 12, maybe 15 seats to the Republican side of the ledger in the House. So that's something people are going to be looking at very closely from both sides of the aisle.
To really blow the liberals' minds completely to pieces, I wonder if Justice Thomas is jockeying to write the majority opinion in that case, because he spoke out quite a bit during the first argument on that case and blew a lot of holes into the folks trying to uphold this situation of mandating majority minority districts. So we'll see if Thomas writes that or not.
Yeah, and it would not surprise me if he did.
He is definitely one of the most originalists we've had on the court in a long time. We've got Chris's Corner coming up at 4:45 today.
Yeah, we're going to have a global warming update. A lot of global warming news, especially with the hurricane down in Jamaica. It's supposed to be the largest one ever on record that's going to make landfall in terms of wind speed. And the Kami Mandami is going to be elected mayor of New York probably next Tuesday. And we have some news on that and some other New York political news, specifically regarding Letitia James.
On the climate issue, I will not steal your thunder at all on this. Are you going to talk about Bill Gates at all?
Yes.
Good. Okay. I'm glad. I saw a little bit on that yesterday, and I'm glad you're going to dig into that. I think people will be very interested to hear this news. At 5:07, the Speaker's stump speech today is titled "Always Using People as Pawns." And I am going to give some homage to our own Vic Porcelli, who wrote a great op-ed that was published at Red State, redstate.com. That's going to be One that's going to be one part of my two-part speaker stump speech on always using people as pawns. You can maybe guess who is that, who does generally always use people as pawns. And I thought Vic's op-ed was squarely on point on that. And I also have some quotes from that certain classification of people themselves. All of that at 5:07. Chris, we've got a really special guest, a first-timer to the show, Paige Schulte, Turning Point USA chapter president at Mizzou. I think you met this young lady.
I had a chance to meet her last week at the Boone County Cookie or Chili Cook-Off. Excuse me, can't get it up, get the words out. Very impressive young lady. You're going to be hearing her name in the future, definitely, Tim. She has plans to go to law school after her undergraduate studies are over. But she's going to tell the story of how Mizzou threw everything but the kitchen sink at her and the organization to try not to have a Turning Point USA chapter at Mizzou. It's really kind of disgusting, the roadblocks that they put in front of her. She will tell us that story. And Vice President J.D. Vance is joining Erica Kirk tonight at an event at Ole Miss. So we'll ask her about that as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I am so excited, as I know so many are, to see Turning Point continue to have this success. I was informed last week by my state representative, Holly Jones, no relation, my sister from another mother, that a Turning Point USA chapter has been set up at Eureka High School, and over 60 students showed up for the formation meeting. So I love that we keep hearing all these anecdotes, and hopefully the wave continues for Turning Point USA.
Yeah, she mentioned that their chapter had 25 people before Charlie Kirk's unfortunate assassination. Afterwards, they have now 300 people, and probably growing.
That is fantastic. If you're a young person, if you have young people in your life, please listen to that really important segment at 5:25 this afternoon. Paige Schulte, Turning Point USA chapter president at Mizzou, will be joining us this afternoon. And then, Chris, at 5:45, I know we'll have some great news and bits for the people before we hand them off to Larry.
Yeah, I'll be talking about Johns and the divorce rate.
Oh, John, I'm going to have to write that down. Johns and the divorce rate.
And let me just say, people, get your mind out of the gutter. It's not what you think it is.
Johns and the divorce rate.
Johns and the divorce rate.
At 5:45 this afternoon. Chris, we talked a lot yesterday about the SNAP benefits running out this Saturday. We talked about how important it is for all of us Americans, all of us Missourians, to step up if we're able to, if we're blessed with bounty, to step up and help our fellow men and women. And we should let the folks know that News Talk STL is putting its money where its mouth is. We're going to be participating in a huge canned food drive next week with some of our partners, some of our advertising partners, some of our political partners, some of our partners in general. We're going to have a ton of locations, including our studio. We're going to have a ton of locations around the area. And I thought it was a bit of synchronicity that you and I got really deep into that subject yesterday. We even talked about A Christmas Carol and Ebenezer Scrooge, reminding people that in times like this, and you made such a great point on this, you should not. It's great that we have the social safety net, but we should never be in a position where we're entirely relying on just the government to provide for our basic needs.
Exactly. And I think also, too, it creates a sense of community when people can know that they are down on their luck or maybe having hard times, that people that live around them, their community cares about them to provide them for food and their sustenance. That's how it used to be. That's how it should be. Not saying that there is not a role for government to help people when they're down and out or need help, but I would like to see first the government or people and our churches and institutions like that step up and try to fill that need before we look to the government first.
And as we've learned over the years, because we have had so many great spokespeople and volunteers and citizen activists right here in this studio and on the phone with us talking about all the great charities we have in Eastern Missouri and beyond, we've learned that a lot of these private organizations, these private charities, they do the job better than the government does. They deliver the actual services that need to be delivered to the people they're supporting.
Because we know often that whenever the government is involved, there's always a layer of bureaucracy. It takes a lot of money for the government to be able to do these type of things. People that are at the ground level, at the grassroots level, they have much lower overhead, and they are closest to the people, closest to the need. And that always seems to make government, when it is, that's one of the sayings here in St. Louis, That's why we have all these municipalities, because government closest to the people seems to operate best. I think when you have people in these service organizations that are working with people every day, they know what the need is and how to best allocate those resources.
And as our listeners have heard, the folks running these organizations also have passion, right? We had Brian Fischel in, literally got emotional on air with us, talking about his experiences as a vet and wanting to give back to vets with the Dogs for Our Brave. And I heard, I think it was it maybe Vic today or yesterday that had on us Colonel Joe. Was it Colonel Joe Adams there? Joey, can you help me out there? There's another service. There's a lot of service dogs organizations, but there was a Got Your Six, I think, or something along those lines.
Yeah, that was it. Got Your Six.
Got Your Six. And they had a vet in here with his dog. And those people, the reason those organizations are so successful is because generally they're staffed by people that have life experiences that make them passionate about what they're doing, and they're not just some random government bureaucrat.
Exactly. And to talk about this on a government level with the SNAP program, Senate Appropriations Committee Chair Susan Collins, she wrote to the Agricultural Secretary Brooke Rollins asking for her to tap into a $5 billion quote-unquote contingency fund to pay for these SNAP benefits. White House officials don't believe they have the legal authority to tap into that. So that's where it is with that situation. SNAP benefits are scheduled to run out on November 1st.
That is,
and Speaker Mike Johnson
Saturday.
has said the same thing, that they don't have the legal authority to tap into that $5 million contingency fund.
This Saturday, we'll see if that changes anything regarding the ongoing Schumer shutdown. That was Joey V. You heard a second ago. Joey, you saw the movie last night. Was that right, or is that tonight?
I saw Begonia last night.
Begonia.
With Emma Stone. Yeah.
Saw the preview today, finally. That's a weird looking movie.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Joey will review Begonia, a full review, this Friday, which is also Halloween. Is it a weird enough movie that it's like a Halloween movie?
It's a very funny horror film.
There you go.
Find out. Yeah.
Okay.
I hope it's good, because the trailer did pique my interest on wanting to go see it. It looked interesting.
After the screening let out, they offered $100 in gift cards at Alamo Drafthouse for whoever would shave their head. And a couple people signed up, shaved their head right there in the theater.
Did they really?
Yeah.
I see you did not participate.
I said I'd only do it for $500 cash, and I'm not going bald for gift cards.
But you don't have the head for it, or what?
You know what? I probably do.
What
have
you scared of?
You find a lot of moles when you shave your head that you didn't know were there.
The girl in Begonia, what's the actress? She has a
Emma Stone.
She has a knot on the side of her head from I noticed.
Yeah, on the right side of her head, on her temple. I noticed that as well.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, that's brave. That's Oscar worthy. That's brave.
Yeah. How much she get paid for this movie?
I'll find out by Friday.
All right.
Full review of the bizarre, funny, yet scary movie Begonia on Friday. That'll be at Friday at 5:45. Halloween, perfect review to take us into the Halloween evening and into the weekend. All right, 421 here in the Heartland, and we'll be back to discuss all of the legal lawfare matters we discussed, the redistricting case, and more with Zack Smith, legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation, on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. He's up next at 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Been a rainy, cool, raw morning and afternoon out there, but the good news is in the metro area, the rain will be tapering off as we go through the evening to our southeast, and we'll see drier weather. Be chilly overnight with lows down to about 40 degrees in the morning, and a dry day with some sunny skies at times and not as windy on Thursday. We are looking for dry conditions on Halloween as well. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
Craving authentic Cuban flavors? Come home to Havana 1961, where family recipes passed down through generations come to life in every bite. From chef and owner Mama Maria's famous Cuban sandwiches to classic entrees bursting with bold, fresh flavors, we bring the warmth and tradition of Havana right here to Missouri. Havana 1961, where great food, culture, and community come together. On Main in St. Peters or at Havana1961.com. We welcome you like familia.
The Vic Borselli Show.
NPR, guess what? Got the funding, and they're going to close down operations. If they're not going to get federal funding, well, then guess what? There are plenty of radio salespeople out there in the United States who can sell time, big time. You know why they don't hire a sales team? Because nobody will buy advertising because they suck so bad.
Oh my God!
You don't see people.
You're so correct. That's it right there.
Vic Borselli, live and local, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
I need somebody help, not just anybody help. You know I need someone.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
I never needed anybody's help in any way.
The Supreme Court of Texas has added a new rule that would give state judges the ability to deny marriages to same-sex couples. The Supreme Court issued an order on Friday making a change to their judicial code of conduct. The change reads that, quote, it is not a violation for a judge to publicly refrain from performing a wedding ceremony based upon a sincerely held religious belief, end quote. A McLennan County Justice of the Peace came under fire in 2019 for refusing licenses to same-sex couples. The Supreme Court then said such actions cast doubt on their ability to act impartially.
425 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. It's Wednesday, and we have our Supreme Court expert on the line.
Oh, it's all perfectly legal. You are out of order. You're out of order. You're out of order. The whole trial is out of order.
Zack Smith, legal fellow with the Heritage Foundation.
You know, I ask you a lot of predictions. Can you predict what the Supreme Court probably will do with this action?
Zach, happy Wednesday. How are you?
I am doing well, Chris. Thanks for having me on the show this
Oh,
afternoon.
of course. Every week, sir. For 4 years, you're a regular. You started with us from the beginning, Zach, from the beginning. So we appreciate you.
I'm like a bad penny that you guys just can't get rid of.
Well, I wouldn't exactly put it that way, Zach, but we like you. All right. You heard that clip coming in. Zach, I'm no attorney, but my partner is. I thought this was settled law. Gay marriage, same-sex marriage is legal. What's going on here?
Yeah, so obviously the U.S. Supreme Court in the Obergefell case said that there is a constitutional right for same-sex couples to get married. Obviously, that decision was very controversial at the time it was issued. It remains controversial. And one of the things the dissenting justices pointed out in their dissents in that Obergefell decision is they were worried about freedom of conscience. If someone holds a deeply held religious belief objecting to same-sex marriage, if that individual believes that marriage is between one man and one woman, those dissenting justices worried that their freedom of conscience might be infringed. And I think that's what we were seeing in Texas. Now, I haven't had a chance to read this court ruling. I've seen some of the news around it. But essentially what happened is that judges in Texas who had sincerely held religious beliefs, who said that they themselves could not personally perform wedding ceremonies for same-sex couples, even though another judge or justice of the peace could and would be willing to do that. Essentially, the entity that oversees discipline for Texas state court judges were disciplining these judges, saying that it cast doubt on their ability to fairly and impartially discharge their duties. And so essentially what the Texas Supreme Court did, they amended the Judicial Code of Conduct, making clear that if judges decline to perform same-sex wedding ceremonies due to sincerely held, deeply held religious beliefs, that was not and will not be a violation of the Code of Conduct governing Texas judges.
Zach, could a judge say that I have a deeply held belief that I am against interracial marriage and I don't want to conduct a ceremony between an interracial couple? Is that kind of the same thing?
Well, I think that'd be a much more difficult case for the judge to make. I'm certainly not aware of a religious belief that adheres to that here's that they will only allow marriage between individuals of the same race. But I think there is a widespread across many different religious beliefs. And we're not talking just about Judeo-Christian beliefs, but we're talking about other faith traditions as well that do have a long-held tradition that marriage is between one man and one woman. Justice Clarence Thomas has spoken at length about some of the distinctions between interracial marriage and same-sex marriage. Well, he does not think those are equivalent comparisons. But I think certainly the idea of one man and one woman, that is a much easier case for a judge to make.
So, Zach, this reminds me of the infamous cake baker cases, right, Zach? And it reminds me that if you truly do have a sincerely religious held belief, that is something that's generally and widely accepted as a religiously held belief, that one person's constitutional rights cannot be used against yours as a sword, right, Zach? Generally, I think the courts try to construct constitutional rights out as shields from forcing people to do actions that would upset their conscience rights. Would that be a correct statement?
Yeah, that's certainly right, Tim. And look, I think it might be an issue for same-sex couples if no judge in the state of Texas was willing to perform these ceremonies. But that is not the claim in this case. The claim is that one specific judges were not willing to perform these ceremonies. And I think it's clear that other judges, again, could and would perform these ceremonies. And so at the end of the day, I think this ruling is a good ruling in the sense that it protects the freedom of conscience of those judges who are currently sitting on the bench.
Speaking with Zack Smith, senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Zach, as you know, over the last few years, there have been a lot of lawfare against President Trump. President Trump and his attorneys have appealed his criminal conviction in New York. They are citing the Supreme Court's decision on presidential immunity as a way of saying that this should be overturned. They said that the evidence was connected to Trump's quote unquote official acts as president during his first term. Zach, I know you don't make predictions, but make a prediction on where do you think this is going to end up?
Oh, Chris, my crystal ball is as cloudy as ever. Now, I certainly know what should happen in this case. I think many of us, and we've talked about it before, were troubled by these criminal charges that were brought against President Trump, in addition to the many civil cases that were brought against him as well. And so I think certainly there is a very strong case that these charges should be thrown out, that the appellate court should overturn these convictions. But whether or not the appellate court in New York will in fact do that, I think that's a little bit more difficult to determine.
Mm-hmm. Zach, back to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, Zach, had an unusual session, not unheard of, but unusual session where they conducted a rehearing on that Louisiana redistricting case that we discussed with you a week or two ago, Louisiana versus Calais, which could upend a pretty long established precedent regarding the majority-minority districts under the Voting Rights Act. Zach, talk to us about how often those types of rehearings happen and what it might mean from what you could glean from it as to this case based on the questions that came from the Supreme Court.
Yeah, so obviously rehearing a case is somewhat unusual for the Supreme Court to do. Typically, whenever the justices ask to rehear a case, hear oral arguments for a second time, in the past, that has indicated they're thinking about making a significant shift in the law. For instance, other cases that have been argued twice in the Supreme Court are very famous cases, very monumental cases like Brown versus Board of Education, Roe versus Wade, the Citizens United campaign finance case. All of those, and others as well, were argued twice. And in each of those cases, the court did make a significant shift in those relevant areas of law. Now, in this case, as you mentioned, Tim, the justices are being asked to decide whether essentially Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, whether that is unconstitutional, whether it violates the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause, because it purports to require state legislatures to explicitly take race into account withdrawing congressional and other legislative districts. And of course, the 14th Amendment, the Equal Protection Clause, says that you shouldn't take race into account. Everyone should be treated equally, regardless of their race. Now, in terms of the oral arguments themselves, I think things went very well as could be expected for those challenging the Voting Rights Act. I thought it was very interesting at one point. The lawyer arguing on behalf of the United States who had intervened supporting this challenge to Section 2 of the VRA, he made a very good point, I thought. He said it was in response, I think, to a question by Justice Sotomayor. He said, Justice Sotomayor, we all know if that the races in this case were reversed, none of us would be okay with that. If you had a group of Southern legislators trying to draw predominantly white districts to make sure that white voters could elect the white official of their choice, we would all condemn it. We would all say that's inappropriate, it's illegal, and it's unconstitutional. And simply because the races are reversed, you're substituting black voters for white voters, that doesn't make it any less constitutional. Now, whether the Supreme Court the justices will actually strike down Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, or maybe just reinterpret it in a way that would be consistent with the Equal Protection Clause, that's where things remain to be seen somewhat, particularly based on the oral arguments. But I'm not making a prediction necessarily, but I do think it would seem likely that some change in the way Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is currently interpreted and applied will take place after the justices rule.
Zach, we had a rare bit of bipartisanship in the Senate yesterday. The Senate voted to terminate President Trump's tariffs on Brazil, 52-48. I know there is a case before the Supreme Court that's going to be looked at next month, seeing whether the administration can tax imports by invoking the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Your thoughts? I know you don't make predictions, but where do you think this case is going to end up?
Well, I have to tell you, Chris, I think this government shutdown may be good for the Senate because they have been very busy in some sense, obviously taking that vote. I haven't had a chance to look at that vote in particular, but I do know the Senate has been very busy confirming executive branch officials and confirming judges as well, which is a very important thing the Democrats have been obstructing. And the way Democrats have been obstructing that is they've been invoking procedural rules that typically aren't invoked during the confirmation process. They've made it very painful, very difficult, eating up a lot of the Senate's floor time so that President Trump cannot get his executive branch officials and his judges confirmed. But fortunately, that seems to be changing. And so while I haven't had a chance to look at that particular vote, I have seen that some fantastic judges have been getting confirmed. For instance, there were judges in my home state of Florida that were recently confirmed. One of my former classmates was just confirmed to the bench. It'll seem a little odd to call him the Honorable, so-and-so now, but he is now a member of the bench. Alabama's Solicitor General, Eddie LaCour, who has argued several of those race-based redistricting cases we're talking about before, not the Calais case, but others. He was recently, just today, actually confirmed to a federal judgeship there in Alabama. So even though the government is shut down, it's good to see that the Senate is turning their attention and getting many of the president's nominees confirmed.
Zach, how disturbing is it to learn that under Joe Biden and Merrick Garland, the Department of Justice was used, it appears, I know it's still alleged, but it appears very clear it was being used to target not just a couple, but hundreds of conservative groups and even some Republican lawmakers. Zach, I think the Senate Judiciary Committee just came out with a follow-up to their September bombshell report, and it appears that this is a long thread that keeps unwinding. Not the things the Department of Justice should have been doing under Joe Biden, right?
No, absolutely not. And look, to say this is troubling is really an understatement, particularly when you understand the volume of the records that they received, particularly when you consider that they were potentially essentially tapping the phones of sitting U.S. senators. This is really draconian and scary stuff, the type of things you would expect to see and, what we typically think of in kind of a banana republic type situation. And so I think you are seeing more and more outrage growing, not only on Capitol Hill among these senators. I think you're seeing outrage growing among the American public as we learn more about what exactly has happened. And so, look, I certainly don't think this is the last we're going to hear about this. But I would certainly think if I were a Democratic senator, I would be equally outraged by this as well, because again, this is not something that the Justice Department should be doing on a routine basis on very questionable circumstances, using very questionable justifications. Typically, the only time you see something like this is if a senator has been accused of quid pro quo corruption or something of that nature. But that's certainly not what happened here. And so I would say stay tuned. I think we're going to hear a lot more about this in the future.
Zach, this isn't a SCOTUS case, but it's kind of an interesting case nonetheless. Supreme Court judges in Washington State are being asked to determine whether Amazon should be held liable for selling a chemical called sodium nitrate that has no known household uses, but it was used in the suicide deaths of 28 people aged 15 to 42. Attorneys first contacted Amazon in 2020 to let them know the chemical was being used in suicide deaths. Does Amazon have any liability here?
Well, Chris, my crystal ball is still not up to par. But look, here's what I'll say. You bring up an interesting question because essentially this is a matter of court, right? Whenever we see kind of the billboards for the attorneys, advertising car wrecks, if you've been injured, call them. Essentially, that's what's known as tort law. When you sue someone for an injury, for damages, you're trying to get money back, be made as whole as possible monetarily. That's an action in tort, and that is traditionally governed by state law. And unfortunately, I think what we have seen for many years and are seeing is the left, as in so many other areas of the law, trying to weaponize state tort law against their perceived political enemies. And so you mentioned this case against Amazon. There's a concerted effort by environmental groups to sue oil and gas companies under state tort law to try to bankrupt them, to try to make it economically impossible for them to do business as well. Obviously, many states have issues with medical malpractice lawsuits, some justified, some not. But this is a very serious issue. And I think what you're seeing increasingly is a divergence among states about how permissive or how restrictive they'll be in allowing these types of suits to go forward. And I suspect that's why you're seeing plaintiffs' attorneys flocking to states like Washington, states like California, because not only are they home to many of these high-tech companies, they also tend to be very permissive in their laws, allowing these types of tort suits to be brought. So again, I think this is something that many legislators, state legislators around the country are beginning to look at. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see efforts to legislatively reform the tort systems in many states in the coming years.
Zach, usually when Supreme Court cases are heard, the court usually spends many months researching and then writing its decision, and most decisions don't come out till many months after they're heard. But Zach, do you think that the redistricting case we've talked about, the Louisiana redistricting case, do you think that might be decided on expedited fashion, given the fact that there's a political calendar involved and people have to decide what they're going to do as far as running for office with filing deadlines opening? Think that we might hear a decision from that sooner than later?
Well, I certainly think that's hopeful. In an ideal world, we would. I'm not sure all the justices always appreciate those real world considerations that you're mentioning there. Look, the thing that I think could slow this opinion down from coming out is obviously I suspect there is likely to be very heated disagreement among some of the justices. This could potentially usher in a sea change in the law. And so I suspect you'll want to see the justices be sure they are able to cross their T's, dot their I's, and do everything needed to fully explain their positions before the opinion comes out.
And finally, Zach, you remember last week I asked you about the white law firm. I forgot the term that I used. Gum, you know what I'm saying. Skadden Arps, no relation. Was doing free legal work, was supposed to be doing free legal work for the Heritage Foundation. Did you follow up on that? Did you find out if that's true?
I have not heard anything, Chris. I would probably
So
get
you didn't.
a demerit for failing to do my homework as thoroughly as I should have. But look, I think there's a lot of things in the news right now. Hard to say what's accurate, what's not. But again, all I can say is I have no personal knowledge of that.
Zach, you did a phenomenal job as always today. We appreciate you. Did a lot of pivoting today, and I was just saying, like, boy, he is good. I can't believe that.
My ankles are sore, Chris. I gotta go tape them up.
That is Zack Smith, Senior Legal Fellow at the Heritage Foundation. He's at TZ Smith on X, and of course at heritage.org. Zach, look forward to speaking with you again next Wednesday.
Always a good time. Thanks so much for having me on.
Thank you, sir. All right, 4:43. We're going to talk about the global warming update that I have, and a very interesting news from Bill Gates, the billionaire. And we're going to have a little New York political news, specifically the New York mayoral race and Letitia James, her case. There's some updates on that. We'll follow up on that on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Help me get my feet back on the ground. Won't you please help me?
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We've got a cool night tonight, definitely a colder start. Low down to 40 degrees as the clouds will be clearing tonight and will be dry tomorrow with plenty of sunshine, but a cool day, a high of 57 degrees and mostly sunny skies. Another cool start on Friday, around 41 for the low, so outlying areas again will be into the upper 30s. But the afternoon high for Halloween Friday is 60 degrees. Trick-or-treat time starts in the upper 50s and drops to the low 50s. That's cool, but it'll be dry, and that's the great news for Halloween. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
No big old corporate lib AM station telling us what to say here. Conservative talk for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Well, I feel lots better today, and you know why that is? Well, I went to Comprehensive Chiropractic yesterday. Comprehensive Chiropractic, the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region, have assisted not only myself, but many of my friends, colleagues, coworkers, my family members have all gone to Comprehensive Chiropractic because they're just that good. And then some. Saw Dr. Gorman yesterday. I often see all the docs there. Dr. Pat Fader, of course, the proud owner-operator of Comprehensive Chiropractic. Dr. Fader and I have known each other for, man, I'll tell you what, probably more than 2 decades. I've been a patient almost that entire time because he has helped keep me upright, moving, and grooving. Let me tell you, Comprehensive Chiropractic is also more than chiropractic care. The chiropractic care, the acupuncture, the holistic medicine, absolutely fantastic. But wait, there's more. The Studio Health and Wellness Center up on the 2nd floor, Pilates and yoga classes in a beautiful, gorgeous setting, complete with these gigantic skylights that provide so much natural light, the licensed massage therapists, and the personal trainers. All that and more at Comprehensive Chiropractic, which you can check out online at chiropractic.com. Comprehensive Chiropractic, seriously, your one-stop shop for comprehensive healthcare needs. Comprehensive Chiropractic, chiropractic.com. Comprehensive Chiropractic at chiropractic.com for all your comprehensive healthcare needs.
Craving the freshest in town? Anthony's Produce is your daily destination for nature's finest. For 28 years, we've been your trusted supplier for everything seasonal. It's homegrown apple season. Choose from many local varieties. Grab some caramel dip or try our made-in-house gourmet caramel apples. Fall decorating? We've got Hardy Mums, corn stalks, straw bales, pumpkins, gourds, Indian corn, and jumbo specialty pumpkins. Perfect for carving or pies. Plus seasoned firewood available for pickup or delivery. Open Monday through Saturday, 7 to 6:30 and Sundays, 8 to 5 on Jungerman Road or at anthonysproduce.com.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
St. Charles County Executive Steve Ellman says he's running for another term at 8:35 on Thursday. We're talking to one of his opponents, Bill Eigel.
Morning starting at 5:30 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL.
Till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
Hey, I'm the actual Zoran Mamdani, not the guy they talk about on this channel. My radical agenda? Turn the page on the billionaire-backed politics of Andrew Cuomo. Make the city affordable, tackle government waste, keep New York safe, and deliver on our promises. With universal childcare, rent that you can afford, and a property tax system that actually makes sense. So don't be fooled by the noise. This is who I am, and you're who I'm fighting for.
Don't waste your vote on Curtis Sliwa. Want to stop Mamdani from slashing the police and killing jobs? Sliwa has zero chance. Face it, a vote for Sliwa is a vote for Mamdani. Paid for by Fix the City.
448 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show, and those are a couple of the competing ads, Tim, that are happening in the run-up to the New York City mayoral race. Hate to say it, but Kami Mamdani looks like he is going to be the next mayor of New York, sadly.
And the city will learn another hard lesson once again that I thought they learned during the Comrade de Blasio years.
Before we get into Chris's Corner, I got a press release today from a young man, or a man named Adam Baker. He's spokesman for Protect Missouri Voters. That's the Amendment 4, where constitutional amendments have to win in every single congressional district. They have filed a formal complaint with the Missouri Attorney General asking for an investigation into whether the ballot measure committee, people, not politicians, has accepted foreign funds, Tim. The complaint identifies a $250,000 contribution from the National Redistricting Advocacy Fund, which has received millions of dollars from the Burger Action Fund, and a dark money group bankrolled by Swiss billionaire Hans-Georg Wyss. You've mentioned him many, many times as a foreign national, of course. He is prohibited from funding American elections. Still, money has flowed through nonprofit networks to influence elections. Before I do Chris's Corner, you have any thoughts on this complaint? I've sent his information to Joyce. So hopefully we can have him on this week to talk about this complaint.
Yeah, Andy's a great guy, and I know he's at the tip.
Oh, you know him?
Yeah,
Good.
He came from the Illinois Policy Institute.
Is he a young man? Because I said
he's a young man.
Okay,
he's
good.
a young man. As Trump would say, he's a young, vibrant man. Yeah. Glad you brought that up, because I hope that Attorney General Catherine Hanaway takes this very seriously, because we literally passed a law here in the state of Missouri to stop this from happening. Chris, I've gone to a couple of election integrity conferences, like I know you have as well. And I know we have both been absolutely horrified at the amount of foreign money that's coming into our country from left-wing billionaires that want to do what? They want to unsettle our elections, right? They want to they want to put their finger on the scale of the voters, and they want to influence them in improper ways. We've prohibited that here in the state of Missouri. It doesn't mean that those dark money groups are going to stop trying.
Exactly. And I think when we had Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway on the show, I asked her about how in the hell have we passed a law to keep foreign money out. And she said cryptically, well, there's something coming on that. So I think she kind of gave it away here that this lawsuit was probably going to be filed by this group. I hope so, because we passed a law, and this is just an absolute flouting of that law.
It is.
To have a Swiss billionaire giving money through groups that you can't trace. We know it's him. So hopefully we can have him on this week, and we can discuss more of this formal complaint.
The left has Death Stars of money. And if you don't believe me, Chris, we interviewed the guy who wrote the book on it. Scott Walter, I think. Scott Walter's his name. Arabella.
Yeah.
He wrote the book. Arabella is one of the institutions, the dark money groups that people like Hans-Georg Wyss and George Soros use. It is an incredibly complicated, on purpose, complex web of C3s and C4s that they shuffle and funnel millions, if not billions of dollars through, so it becomes less traceable. The more exhausting it is to find the needle in the haystack, the more they think they can evade scrutiny.
Joey, refresh my memory. Did we have him on last week? Because we had someone. Yeah, we had him on last Friday when you.
When I was out.
Yeah,
he's great. Isn't he?
Yeah, we had him on before though, right?
We had him on about a year ago.
Yeah, and we had him on talking about that Arabella and some other things.
If every American could sit down and listen to Scott for like a half an hour, they would be as horrified as those of us who know more about this than is probably healthy would feel.
And that's a good way for me to plug the podcast, because he was on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show last Friday in the 5:20 hour, somewhere around there. So if you want to hear that conversation, go to News Talk STL, Tim Jones and Chris Arps show podcast last Friday. You can hear that conversation. Joy, let's do a little Karner.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
Well, we talked about how Hakeem Jeffries, he has finally come around this week and has endorsed Comrade Mondami for the New York mayoral race. But not all Democrats have joined on board. Representative Tom Southey from New York, he announced his endorsement of Andrew Cuomo for the New York City's top office on Wednesday. He has rejected the candidacy of socialist Zoran Mondami. He said, quote, "I'm a democratic capitalist, not a democratic socialist." He wrote that on social media. So there are some people that are seeing, Democrats that are seeing the handwriting on the wall, that electing this guy is not going to be a good thing for the city of New York or for Democrats in New York or nationwide. Because as we know, Republicans, he's going to be the foil next year in the 2026 midterm elections. We know that Letitia James, the AG, she has been indicted and accused of mortgage fraud. Of course, something that I got here in Politico, she may get out of it, Tim. Her mortgage contract that she signed does not prohibit renting out the house. Politico has done a investigation. It said, in fact, key language in the contract expressly allows renting under certain conditions. She has a trial set for January 6th. Stay tuned. All right. I've got it here somewhere. There it is. Bill Gates.
Yes.
The billionaire who is taking on vaccinations and climate change and all of that. He wrote a lengthy essay yesterday arguing that some climate aid funding is being misspent on projects that try to cut back on emissions, but make no tangible improvement in people's health or livelihoods. And while he is striding that climate change is a serious problem, he is convinced that it, quote, will not lead to humanity's demise. For the world's poorest people, their biggest problems will continue to be poverty and disease, not warming temperatures, although warming clearly exacerbates both problems. That's from Bill Gates. Of course, we all knew that. Why did it take a billionaire years and years and years to know something that we all know as in common sense? Well, climate change is on the minds of younger people, Tim. Younger generation of Americans are increasingly citing climate change as making them reticent to having children. According to several studies in 2024, Lancet study of people 16 to 25, the majority of respondents were very or extremely worried about climate change. The study also found that 52% said they were hesitant to have children because of climate change. Adults under 50 years old without children were 4 times more likely than adults over 50 without children to say that climate plays a factor in their decision. Tim's just looking at me like, you got to be kidding me. According to a Pew Research Center report published last year and a study published this year in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, found more than half of respondents said yes or maybe to whether climate change made them question having children. And then we have the UN Attorney General, Antonio Guterres, said it is now inevitable that humanity will overshoot the target in the Paris Climate Agreement with, quote, devastating consequences for the world, Tim.
No.
Humanity has failed to limit global warming to 1.5 Celsius and must change course immediately. And Health and HHS Secretary Robert Kennedy has directed the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to probe the harmful effects of offshore wind farms. All right, little good news there. In late summer, HHS introduced CDC's National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health to prepare research about wind farms' impact on fishing businesses. So a little good news about global warming there, of course, but all the doom and gloom, our young people, our colleges and our high schools have scared these people to the point where they're thinking about not having children. What does that say about our society today? And that is Chris's Corner. You have any thoughts about that, Tim? Are your daughters worried about not having children because of climate change?
No, they're not, because they're sane human beings and they're intellectuals as well. Chris, Bill Gates' little soliloquy there, that's like the arsonist running away from the fire saying, oh, look at those flames.
Exactly. All right, we've got the Speaker Stone speech at 5:07.
We're going to talk about always using people as pawns.
And stay tuned. We're going to speak with Paige Schulte, Turning Point USA Chapter President at Mizzou. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey folks, it's Jamie Allman here for the Walner home selling team of Berkshire Hathaway. I love this team so much, and Rodney and Jen love the team so much, I became a member. So now I'm an agent with the Walner home selling team of Berkshire Hathaway, and I can tell you, as a matter of fact, that we're going to get you into a home really super easily and with the lowest cost you're ever going to find, and make sure we find you that dream home. We're also going to list your home and get the top dollar for your home. I'm telling you, Rodney and Jen love this business. You can tell it is infectious, and I'm so happy to be a real estate agent there with them. 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD. Whether you are buying your home or selling your home, I'm telling you what, the costs are going to be absolutely totally minimal, but the professionalism and getting the job done for you is going to be 100%. The Walner home selling team of Berkshire Hathaway, 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at intervine.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Hurricane Melissa remains a Category 2 hurricane with maximum sustained winds of 100 miles an hour after battering Jamaica overnight. It was located about 150 miles south of the central Bahamas, moving northeast. The storm is being blamed for at least 35 deaths and millions of dollars in damage. In Jamaica, Christian nonprofit relief organization Food for the Poor is racing to get emergency supplies and food to victims. Spokesman Kivette Silvera says being on the ground and making advanced preparations made all the difference.
You're preparing before, because that is critical. Pre-preparation is very important. But then when the activity is there, it's imminent, it's right at the door knocking. Now you're putting all your pre-prep activities into action. What are the things that needs to be shut down? What are the trucks that need to be locked 2 days before, 24 hours before, and at the time of the hurricane?
Listeners wishing to make donations to support the current Hurricane Melissa relief efforts can go to the website foodforthepoor.org/Melissa25. President Trump appears to be ruling out a third term in office. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
Donald Trump has been publicly toying with the idea of running for a third term in the White House, even though the Constitution's 22nd Amendment says no one can be elected president more than twice. He told reporters aboard Air Force One that if you read it, it's pretty clear. I'm not allowed to run. It's too bad. However, the president didn't rule out entirely the possibility of staying in office despite that, saying, we'll see what happens. Greg Clugston, Washington.
On Wall Street, the Dow down by 74 points, the NASDAQ rose 131, the S&P down a fraction. More at townhall.com.
Dennis Prager here for AmFed Coin and Bullion. I've always been a strong believer in precious metals investment, and I've always been fascinated with rare coin collecting. But owning the wrong coins that only make dealers a lot of money can be catastrophic for your investment portfolio. AmFed Coin and Bullion specializes in taking people out of non-performing coin portfolios and turning them into gold, silver, or platinum bullion. They tailor a portfolio based on your goals and not what they want to sell you. You'll never experience scare tactics, misleading hype, or high-pressure sales from owner Nick Grovich and his very knowledgeable staff. They will evaluate your portfolio, show you how your coins have performed, and take the time to educate you on the ugly industry practices so that you can make an informed decision. Smart people can make very bad investments when they're under pressure and lack the facts. Call 800-221-7694. That's 800-221-7694. AmericanFederal.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We've got a cool night tonight, definitely a colder start. Low down to 40 degrees as the clouds will be clearing tonight and will be dry tomorrow with plenty of sunshine, but a cool day, a high of 57 degrees and mostly sunny skies. Another cool start on Friday, around 41 for the low, so outlying areas again will be into the upper 30s. But the afternoon high for Halloween Friday is 60 degrees. Trick-or-treat time starts in the upper 50s and drops to the low 50s. That's cool, but it'll be dry, and that's the great news for Halloween. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Looking for a hardware store that treats you like family? Welcome to True Value Schneider's Hardware, your local gem in Old Town St. Peters. For over 100 years, we're proudly serve you St. Charles County, providing everything from lawn and garden supplies to plumbing and electrical. Need a bolt or fastener? We've got you covered. And don't forget, we're a steel dealership. Whether you need sales, parts, or service, ask for Charlie or Jerry when you come in. We're here to help. Call 636-278-4461 or visit us online at truevalue.com/Schneiders.
I'm Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway. When severe weather hits, scammers often follow. They may pose as charities, jack up prices on essentials, or offer fraudulent home repairs. I'm committed to protecting Missourians from those scams. If you've been targeted or suspect price gouging, report it to our office at 800-392-8222 or online at ago.mo.gov.
Paid for by the Missouri Attorney General's office.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Wherever I'm at, home, car, wherever.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
If you have a phone, you have a radio. Just the convenience on the phone. Streaming live on the mobile app.
Love the new app.
And listen anytime.
Everywhere.
Anywhere. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Yeah, you might think, given that the Republicans are in charge of both the House and the Senate, that a government shutdown might actually hurt the Republican brand. But in fact, it hasn't. If anything, it's been helped a little bit. Take a look here, the shift in net popularity versus pre-shutdown. When we're looking at the Republican Party overall, that brand actually up 2 points. That's within the margin of error, but clearly it hasn't dropped. Come over to this side of the screen. Look at the net approval ratings for Republicans in Congress. It's actually up 5 points since pre-shutdown. So what we're seeing here is the Republican brand in Congress has actually improved somewhat compared to where we were pre-shutdown, despite the fact that Republicans control. And that's the math that John Thune and Mike Johnson are looking at is, well, hey, why should we give, and electorally speaking, when our brand has actually improved a little bit?
I wish that much joy and excitement for everyone who's doing their job. That's Harry Enton from CNN talking about, Chris, the fact that the polling, CNN's polling, is showing that during the actual shutdown period that we've had thus far, Republican approval rates have gone up. and they've benefited mostly from a bump from independent voters.
I think Republicans have made a very effective argument that you're shutting down the government for one, spending that you approved earlier in the year, and that you're shutting down the government for a healthcare program that is subsidized people that make $150,000 a year, $60,000 a year for single people. And as you noted, Tim, that and I saw this in a report today, is that the subsidies aren't going to the people that need these subsidies. They're going to the insurance companies,
Directly.
and they are using that money to lower people's insurance rates.
Yes.
So people that aren't even using it, the insurance companies are still getting that subsidy. So the Republicans have made a very good argument that, yeah, we'd love to reopen the government. Just reopen the government first, and then we'll talk about these healthcare subsidies. Don't shut the government down for this one issue.
I think Democrats are going to really regret having had this month-long conversation about the fraud and failure of Obamacare.
Mhm.
Chris, think about that. We never, ever, ever would have looked into Obamacare, right? I mean, you and I, we talk about how it's bankrupting state budgets, and this is all this kind of tedious public policy stuff that most people's eyes glaze over. But we wouldn't have gotten into the mechanics of it. And as you just pointed out, the whole thing is a fraud.
Yeah.
There's the only reason Obamacare even exists is because the insurance companies are subsidizing it to the tune of, the insurance companies are receiving a taxpayer subsidy that's paying for half of the cost of the plans. I didn't even know that.
And we do this for a living. We follow politics very, very closely. I had no idea that during the pandemic that these extra Obamacare subsidies were put in place and the poverty level restrictions were taken out. I had no idea until this became an issue.
I'm at fault too. and we would not have had this conversation. So what the Democrats have done in a backhanded way is expose the rotten underbelly of Obamacare. And we're all now realizing taxpayer-funded government health care, guess what? It does not work. And now we're talking about why it doesn't work. And as you just said, the other thing the Republicans have done really well is they've continued to hammer home the point that they have voted for the Biden-level spending continuing resolution. And the Democrats keep saying, we need Donald Trump to get back here and start negotiating with us. Negotiate what? We had this phrase in the law when we were talking about settlements. You never negotiate against yourself. Yeah. The Republicans said, we're going to pass a clean CR. We're not going to cut funding levels, even though a lot of our conservatives want us to do that. And we're not going to attach anything to the CR. It's the Democrats that want to put all this junk and bunk into this bill.
And I think what's also hurting the Democrats with the public and with their own traditional voters is that there have been votes to pay the military. There have been votes to pay essential members of the government, and the Democrats have voted against it. I think that hurts them as well. Plus, you add on the fact that the largest government union is calling for the shutdown to end. Yesterday, you had the 2 or 3 airline pilot unions call for an end to this, as well as the air traffic controllers union. So I think you add all that up, and this is just not a winner for the Democrats. And as there's been a lot of speculation that November 1st is going to be their off-ramp where they can claim a moral victory and reopen the government.
Yeah, tons of pressure is going to build through this weekend, and I wonder if this will go through next week or not. We will see. Chris, you brought up the Turning Point USA event, and right over your shoulder, I'm watching the monitor, and they were showing the scenes outside of the auditorium or the stadium or wherever they're having this at down in Mississippi. There are huge lines. They just showed the camera shot. Massive lines. People are standing in the pouring rain to see J.D. Vance and Erica Kirk at this TPUSA event. I think that Charlie, the out of a horrific tragedy, has been definitely born an even more excited movement.
And people are excited about this because this is really Erica Kirk's debut. You know, she is now the Turning Point president and CEO. And this is going to be her first major speech in that role. So I think there are a lot of people wanting to see her, want to give her empathy and sympathy, of course. But people are excited to see both the vice president and the new Turning Point CEO.
It looks like they're in the basketball auditorium, the basketball arena at Ole Miss, which I imagine is a pretty good size arena, which probably holds, 15, 20, 25,000 people. It looks packed. And so the media can continue to ignore this movement. They paid Charlie Kirk hardly any homage until his assassination. But now we know what's going on around the country, and it's a movement of young people getting involved in wanting to truly protect and preserve America, which is wonderful to see in the younger generations.
Exactly. And if her speech occurs during the end of the show, I think I will preempt what I had to talk about, and we'll listen in on her speech.
We will keep an eye. We've got Newsmax and Fox on in the studio here. You know that. Some of you folks might know that because you may be watching us. Just want to remind you this. I was reminded because we have a lot of people chatting with each other and sometimes with Joey V on our Facebook page. We stream on 5 different products. We stream every single day, every single show onto Rumble, onto Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. So wherever you find yourself, you can find us. You should also download our News Talk STL app. It's absolutely spectacular. I use it every day. I know Chris does as well. You can listen to us on your smart speakers. You can carry us with you around, literally around the planet. Never leave home without News Talk STL. And with the app, you never have to.
And you just made me think of something. When is the last time that we've been thrown off a platform?
It's been a while.
It's been a long time, hasn't it?
There's a new sheriff in town that may have something to do with it. Making changes over at the FTC and all that stuff.
And I looked up the Ole Miss basketball arena. The Sandy and John Black Pavilion holds 9,500 people. So that place is going to be packed to the rafters.
10,000 easily.
Easy,
Yeah, no problem at all. We'll keep an eye on that. They may be going to that soon. How about we get right away to today's Speaker Stump speech? Guess who's always using people as pawns?
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
Congresswoman, this is also a choice by Senate Democrats to not vote to open the government. Yes, it is. I understand why they're doing it. They're doing it because they want Medicaid funds restored. They're doing it because they want Obamacare premiums to be extended past the end of the year. I understand the reasoning.
There you go. CNN's Jake Tapper proving right there that a broken clock is right twice a day. We've given you 2 examples of that. Harry Enton, the pollster, pointing out that Republican approval ratings are going up. Oh, by the way, Democratic approval ratings are going down. I didn't play you that second clip where Harry Enton was describing the fact that Democrats find themselves in the worst position at this particular time heading into a midterm election. Usually, Harry says that Democrats on the generic congressional ballot heading into a midterm where they're not the party in power, they're usually up 10 to 11 points. Harry pointed out that right now in 2025, as we head into the 2026 election cycle, they're only up 3. That's basically the margin of error. Yeah, Democrats usually need to be leading by 7 to 10 points in order to get that midterm bounce. Could Donald Trump and the Republicans defy history once again in the Trump era? Time will tell, and we'll get to that later. But CNN's Harry Enton pointing out that, and then Jake Tapper really, I was really impressed there. Jake Tapper really taking it to Congresswoman, I think she's from New Mexico, Congresswoman Stansberry. I think she's from New Mexico. Really taken to Congresswoman Stansberry, saying, look, hey, Congresswoman, I'm a big lib like you. I sympathize with, you want to give everything away from all the tech. But Tapper said, but it's Democrats keeping the government shut down. Because you know how Jake Tapper knows that? Jake Tapper knows how to do math. And Jake Tapper is not buying this line. Now on MSNBC and some of the other commentators on CNN and Kristen Welker on NBC, they refuse to do math. They just keep repeating this tired talking point that, as I believe Chris pointed out, that Republicans have really pushed back well on. No, we don't control the Senate when you're talking about a 60-vote threshold. If you're talking about simple majorities, yeah, we're running the government right now. If we're talking about simple majorities. But Republicans have been very clear. We need 60 votes in the House, and there's only 54 of us. Therefore, we need at least 6 Democrats, depending on if Rand Paul's in the boat or not on any given day. We need at least 6 Democrats to cross party lines. Even John Fetterman, the Democrat from Pennsylvania, has agreed with this point and has also said, yeah, we can argue about the whys of it, but the what is that Democrats are keeping the government shut down. Democrats are using people as pawns. People are getting hurt. And to just prove the point that Democrats know they're using people as pawns, How about these recent quotes from many infamous Democrats? Chuck Schumer said a few weeks ago, every day gets better for us. Why would he be celebrating a government shutdown? Bernie Sanders, if you reopen the government, we lose our leverage. So it's all about a political game to you, and you could give a rip whether people's food stamps and SNAP benefits run out this weekend or not. Congresswoman Catherine Clark admitted on an interview that, of course, families are going to suffer. I can't believe these people say these things out loud, but it's one of the few leverage times that we have. Senator Chris Coons, frankly, this is our only bit of leverage. And then an anonymous Democrat aide said this on the condition of anonymity: the party will not concede short of, quote, planes falling out of the sky. Wow. So Democrats are willing to have people's SNAP benefits run out. They're willing to have air traffic controllers not get paid, and perhaps not only delay flights, but maybe have planes literally crashing. They're willing to hold our military men and women hostage, using people as pawns. Second part of this to prove this point was an excellent op-ed that our own Vic Porcelli wrote that was published on Red State. And this is another example of that. And I urge you to read this entire op-ed, because Vic really hits the point home, as he often does on the Vic Porcelli Show every morning from 9 to noon. Vic said, Vic basically said, where are the gas chambers? So the point of his op-ed, which is published at redstate.com, which you can also find at newstalkstl.com, which is that the Democrats are running around yelling and screaming all the time. They've been doing it for years. Trump is Hitler. The Republican parties are Nazis. ICE is the Gestapo. So Vic asks, if any of that has a shred of evidence in it, where are the actions, right? Where are the gas chambers? Because that's what they're saying. They're saying that the Nazis and the Gestapo and the fascists and the Hitlers of the 1930s are now walking amongst us as Donald Trump and the Republican Party. When I say it that way, it sounds like a ridiculous, stupid, and horrifically ignorant analogy, doesn't it? Because there's no comparison at all, not even a shred of it. Donald Trump wanting to restore American greatness, Republicans wanting to end things like the horrific transgender cult, securing our borders, protecting Americans from sex trafficking and fentanyl. That's Hitler-esque? That's Nazi tactics? That's the Gestapo? No, not at all. And that's why it's stupid for them to say it in the first place. The period of the 1930s into the 1940s was a horrific one for the world stage, where you literally had people trying to genocide an entire race of people, the Jews. To say that the Republican Party is doing that, or that Trump is the embodiment of Adolf Hitler, it diminishes the severity of those years, the horror of those times. Those are analogies that should only be utilized when there is something that's somewhat equivalent. And a political party that's trying to make America great again is nowhere near that. I strongly advise you to check out Vic's excellent op-ed, Where Are the Gas Chambers, at redstate.com. And also, as I referenced earlier, take the Democrats' word at face value. When they say they're trying to harm and screw the American people, because this is the, quote, only political leverage that they have, believe them. They're not about good public policy. They're not about helping Americans. But boy, they sure are about trying to leverage their own political power for their own political gain. And that's the Speaker's stump speech for today.
Remember, Chuck Schumer said earlier in the month, every day gets better for us regarding this shutdown.
Isn't that horrific?
It is. And Tim, both you and I were in Israel in August. And for somebody to use that type of language when we've been to the Holocaust Museum, where we see books with 5 million names in them, and we hear the stories literally of a woman whose grandmother was in the camps and escaped. It's sickening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Chris, you're right. Those analogies are unconscionable, and they never should be used. Look, politics is fun, right? We're blessed that we get to do it for a living. But when political games start actually hurting people, and the Democrats know that it's hurting people, and they're okay with the fact that it's hurting people because they think they somehow get some kind of advantage out of this. First of all, according to the polling, apparently they're not. And secondly, how bad is it that they're willing to just keep going? Unbelievable. You think at this point they would be like, okay, we tried, it's not working, let's back out of this. we'll see what they do next week.
And I think it's just an example that the Democratic Party right now is ran by their far left fringe loony base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're the ones calling the shots.
Amen to that. That's true indeed. Hey, we got to get to Paige Schulte, special new guest and friend of the show. She is the Turning Point USA chapter president of Missouri. How appropriate that we're speaking with Paige on the eve of J.D. Vance and Erica Kirk preparing to speak to a sold-out, jam-packed crowd at Ole Miss. Maybe we'll get some big names here to the Show Me State soon.
I'm going to give Joey all the credit for this, even though we booked her last week.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's an amazing executive producer.
He is.
Yes, extraordinaire. Paige Schulte, next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show here at 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
When you think you've had too much with this life.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Well, everybody hurts, but sometimes everybody cries.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We've got a cool night tonight, definitely a colder start, low down to 40 degrees as the clouds will be clearing tonight and will be dry tomorrow with plenty of sunshine, but a cool day, a high of 57 degrees and mostly sunny skies. Another cool start on Friday, around 41 for the low, so outlying areas again will be into the upper 30s. But the afternoon high for Halloween Friday is 60 degrees. Trick-or-treat time starts in the upper 50s and drops to the low 50s. That's cool, but it'll be dry, and that's great news for Halloween. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Chris Arps here, and after Becky and I leave church on Sunday, we head down the street to Capriotti's to grab a classic meatball sub. And of course, for dessert, I get a giant chocolate chip cookie. I love Capriotti's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Hey, St. Louis golfers, looking for a new golfing experience? Sugar Creek Golf Course was voted the most popular golf course in St. Louis. Book your tee time today at sugarcreekgolfcourse.com and join the fastest growing golf community in town, sugarcreekgolfcourse.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Roughly 3,000 people, many students, some Hoosiers who traveled to be here, filled IU's auditorium for this stop on Turning Point USA's tour.
I have no affiliation with either side. I'm just here to learn.
Indiana's a pretty red state, so I know people who drove an hour to get here.
Lines of merch-clad supporters snaked around the building, waiting to pass through metal detectors and take their seats.
I'm glad this is indoor, I will say that. So, anything can happen.
It's not lost on those we spoke to that conservative activists activist Charlie Kirk was killed during a similar Turning Point event on Utah Valley University's campus last month, one that was outside. This crowd expected to hear from Kirk in Bloomington, but still showed up after commentator Tucker Carlson stepped in to headline.
They've jam-packed an arena this evening down at Ole Miss. Maybe we can jam-pack an arena or two here in the Show Me State. We've got just the lady who can tell us all about future Turning Point USA plans here in Missouri and more. She's Paige Schulte, the Turning Point USA chapter president here at Mizzou. Paige, good afternoon. Thanks so much for joining Chris and I here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Welcome, Paige.
Yes, thank you for having me on.
Paige, how about tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how did you get involved in Turning Point USA? What drew you to that organization?
Yeah, so I'm a junior at Mizzou. I'm studying political science pre-law and hopes to be a future attorney and politician. So what drew me into Turning Point and especially at Mizzou? So I've been watching Charlie Kirk forever, and he's just been super impactful to me, and I just really liked watching him, and I realized that I agreed with most of what he said. And I found out that Mizzou did not have an active Turning Point chapter. So in last May, I decided to start it back up. And it's been really successful since then. So I just agree with Turning Point's mission and just what Charlie said. So,
Paige, I don't know if you know this, but my partner, of course, is the former Speaker of the House, and he is a recovering attorney, as he says. So maybe he can give you some pointers on that, on that future life. Paige, it was such a pleasure to meet you last week. I'm just so impressed with you, and you're going to be a name that we're going to hear definitely in Missouri and probably nationwide. But I got to tell you, when you were telling the story of all of the hoops and hurdles that your organization had to go to establish a Turning Point chapter on Mizzou, I was just sitting there with my mouth just wide open, just in unbelief. Tell the audience what type of hurdles and things that you had to go through to establish this chapter.
Yeah, so we we officially signed the contract with Turning Point in June of this year. And when we got back to school, we wanted to get the organization established as a recognized student organization with the university. That way we can reserve rooms and hold events on campus and things like that without charge. And some of the stuff we had to deal with was just things like, so we faced like a bunch of setbacks. So in July, we applied to participate in the Student Involvement Fair, but we were denied because our group had not yet been recognized, which is something we hadn't been told in advance. But in spite of that, we still went into Speaker Circle to share our missions with students. And then another hurdle was in late August when we attended the 2 required training sessions that are required in order for us to be a student, to become an established student org. So we attended both of those, and we submitted our official application on September 9th, but soon after that, we were told we had failed to attend one of the mandatory training sessions. And so we provided evidence that we had, in fact, attended, and we were told it was a mistake on their end. And after that, we were even informed there was an additional form we should have completed, but that is something that was never communicated to us at the time. So, And then they told us the official student org announcements wouldn't be made until October 27th, which at the time was a whole nother month away. So the process was just taking an unexplainable amount of time, and we requested that it be expedited because we had our first meeting approaching soon, so we wanted to be able to rent space, and we got that done, and we're officially we got our process expedited, and we're officially a recognized student org now. So things have been good. Things have been good since that.
Well, congratulations, Paige, as to that. And I noticed from some of the local news reports there, courtesy of ABC 17 there in mid-Missouri, that at that first event you had back in September, more than 150 folks showed up for that first meeting. What were some of the reactions like? What did you hear from students and the folks that showed up? Why were they there? What did they want to hope to accomplish?
Yeah, so students were sharing like personal testimonials, expressing how like Charlie had impacted them, impacted their lives, and inspired them to stand for their beliefs. And after the vigil, people were just outraged, and they're saying, I want to step up and I want to do something about this because this isn't okay. And I'm tired of staying silent as a conservative student on campus. And in the days that followed the vigil, that's when a bunch of people began like reaching out to us, like eager to join. And they'd expressed they were done staying silent, like they were ready to step up and take action in the conservative movement. So from the vigil and that moment on, that's when our chapter's growth momentum truly started surging. So.
Speaking with Paige Schulte, Turning Point USA chapter president at Mizzou. Paige, you also told us last week that you had an opportunity to meet and talk with Charlie Kirk. I think it was a month maybe before his tragic killing. Tell us about that and how emotional that was for you.
Yeah, so I got a phone. So I went to Turning Point Student Action Summit and Chapter Leadership Summit this summer in Tampa, Florida. It was my first ever Turning Point event. We just established the chapter at Mizzou, and one of the mornings I got a call from my regional field rep asking if I wanted to have breakfast with Charlie Kirk, and obviously I said yes. I was so excited. I wasn't expecting it. I called and texted my parents immediately, and so I arrived at the event and I was seated with the other chapter presidents from the other universities across the country. And then Charlie walked in. I was taking pictures and videos. I was freaking out. All of us students who hadn't met him before were freaking out, and just the energy in the room was kind of electric. And so he took time to sit with each of us, each group of students at the tables, and he was on a tight schedule, but he still found time to speak to each of us, which I thought was something that was really admirable. And when he sat with us, he asked us each to introduce ourselves and where we were from. And I had told him I was from the University of Missouri, which was in Columbia. And he kind of chuckled and said, "Columbia, Missouri, there's a lot of crazy people there." And we just both laughed because I was like, yeah, that's right. So
that's fantastic. Folks, we're speaking to Paige Schulte. She is the chapter president of the newly formed Turning Point USA chapter at Mizzou. Paige, you've made several references to the conservative movement and how young people are drawn to it and engaging in the conservative movement. Paige, we're told, the royal we are told by the national media that people like you, young ladies in college, can't possibly be drawn to the conservative movement. Why is that not true? And what is it about conservatism that appeals to you and many of your colleagues and friends there at Ole Mizzou?
Yeah, so I think being a conservative, I think we're the party of patriotism. I just feel like we have a deep love for America, and that's something that really draws me into the conservative party. Definitely not true that especially young women can be conservatives. There's many young women in our chapter who are proud to be conservatives. And I think there's this narrative about Gen Z that it's just it's just so liberal and it's the next liberal generation, when in reality, that's not the truth. Whenever I was at the Turning Point Student Action Summit this summer, it was Charlie kind of talked about and showed us the statistics that Gen Z actually moved, I think, 25 points to the right in the last election. And I think boomers are the ones that moved 3 points to the left. So that was something that was really interesting. And I think Charlie Kirk really had, he was really the motivator of Gen Z conservatism, because young students like myself listened to what he had to say and realized that what he's saying was the truth. So, I think that's something that's important. And I think the Gen Z conservative movement is only just beginning. So.
Paige, take us back to September 10th, 2025, the day that unfortunately Charlie Kirk was assassinated. How did you hear about it? What were the emotions that you had when you found out about that?
Yeah. So I got a text from a family member, and it was before I even seen it. I just got out of taking an exam for one of my classes. So I was in the student center, and I saw the text, and then I looked at Fox News, and it's saying Charlie Kirk got shot, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then when I saw the video, that's when I just broke into tears, because it just didn't look good. And I was shocked. I was confused. I was overwhelmed with grief. It just kind of didn't really hit me. It didn't feel real. It almost wasn't believable. And I kind of just thought of, in that moment, his family, his closest friends, the people that witnessed that, and just the unimaginable pain they must have been feeling at that time. I was scared, kind of. I was kind of just thinking about the future a little bit, and I was just uncertain about what would happen, like, to Charlie. I was just wondering if he was okay, because I was hearing a bunch of, I was just hearing like false. I was hearing, oh, he might survive. Oh, he might survive this. Oh, he's already dead. The media was just out of control, and I didn't really know what to believe at the time. So it was just scary. I was scared for the future. I was uncertain about what was going to happen to Turning Point. And like, Charlie was my biggest inspiration, and it just felt like suddenly he was gone. Like, there was this like hole, and there was this like emptiness in me. So
Paige, with Charlie now gone to the great beyond, to heaven, although the nice thing about in the modern day, of course, it's very easy to go back and look at the things that he did and said and stood for. And, you know, there's probably thousands of hours of Charlie Kirk footage that people can view. But without him being personally here on Earth, what is the future of the movement for you? And do you think it will survive and grow? Like, who else do you look to? And no one can replace Charlie, but he will have successors, right? I mean, his wife has stepped up immediately. Erica has stepped in the fold. Some other people have jumped in. JD Vance is appearing at the event tonight in Ole Miss. So for folks of your generation, who else do you all look to as inspiration to keep this movement going?
Yeah, so there's a ton of Turning Point contributors. As you said, Erica Kirk is doing a great job by taking on the movement. People like Riley Gaines, Michael Knowles, like Matt Walsh, all these other people who are Turning Point contributors. Jack Posobiec, Benny Johnson. These are the people that really keep the movement going, and they really encourage us to keep it going. And I think we definitely listen and follow what they have to say. And if anything, I think Turning Point has only gotten stronger. I mean, there's over 100,000 chapters across the United States. And I really do think the movement is just continuing to grow. And I think the people I think Turning Point is doing a good job keeping the mission in front of them. And I think they're doing a great job just pushing for the goal that Charlie once had in mind and carrying on his legacy. So.
Hey, speaking specifically of the Mizzou chapter, I know you mentioned last week that you originally had 25 members, and then after the tragic killing of Charlie Kirk, the organization grew to over 300 members. Talk a little bit about that. And I want to ask you, are you and other Turning Point members there on campus, are you harassed by more liberal students?
Yeah, so we have our movement has grown to over almost 390 members. So
wow.
We're getting close to the 400 mark, hopefully. But yeah, our growth has been great. I think we're one of the largest student orgs on campus in the political aspect. So that's been great, and we've had a lot of successful meetings. So, and then with the harassment, we've done tabling. We've been called like fascist and racist and all like the typical leftist buzzwords. But I would say that, and they've wrote like, they've called us idiots, and like they've called me dumb, and they've wrote like Free Palestine and like protect LGBTQ in front of our booth to just like mock us. So, but I think we're doing a really good job. I would like to have I wish we could be civil with the other political groups on campus, but it seems at least have a conversation with them. But it just seems like that's a little hard right now. So, but I think we've been I think we've done good in our in aspects of recruiting and getting our message out to students. So that's been really great. And I think we just have learned to just ignore the hatred and bullying that we face. And I think it's only made us stronger for sure.
You know, Paige, even though Charlie definitely started off and did continue throughout his mission as a political commentator on issues of public policy and politics in general, he also had a very strong spiritual theological side that almost seemed to be kind of supplanting a lot of the political discourse. And if you look at some of his last few appearances, it's almost as if he knew there was something, you know, maybe bigger even in store for him. Is spirituality, is theology an important part of from what you see from your friends and colleagues in your generation?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I mean, after Charlie Kirk's death, the numbers don't lie. I mean, Bible sales have gone up, church attendance has gone up. The Christianity movement has expanded completely, and it's been great to see. I'm Catholic, so this is just something that my faith is the ultimate thing that's important to me. And as Charlie said, God, family, country, in that order. I think that's something us at Turning Point really follow, and especially in Gen Z, I think people are starting to find Jesus and find God, and it's been something that's come positive out of the situation. So I really do think the growth of Christianity, especially in my generation, has been outstanding and amazing. So,
Paige, there's an old saying in politics that money is the mother's milk of politics. And at the end of your talk last week, you made an appeal to the group for funds for your organization. I know our audience, as a conservative audience, they are behind you 100%. Give that appeal on how people, if they want to help grow the organization by sending donations, how do they do that?
Yeah, so we do, and also if you want to follow us on social media, I'll let you know that too. So our Instagram is TPUSA_Mizzou. Our Facebook is TPUSA Mizzou or Mizzou TPUSA. If you look us up, it should pop up. We also have X, Mizzou TPUSA. And our email is tpusamizzou@gmail.com. So if you want to reach out to us on that, and if you have questions about donating, if not, you can, we accept cash, and we also accept checks that can be made out to the university, or that can be made out to Turning Point USA. And in memo, you can specify Mizzou. And we don't, for the mailing, they can probably just send it to the Mizzou Student Center. Here, let me get that address for you. It should just be, 1 second. So the student org address is, you can just mail it to 901 Rollins Street, Columbia, Mo 65211.
Excellent indeed. Paige Schulte, Turning Point USA chapter president at Mizzou. Folks, jump on Facebook and go to their page. It's simple to find. It is TPUSA Mizzou. Paige, want to wish you all the best. I actually have a daughter who's a junior in college up in Iowa. You remind me very much of her. Your parents must be very proud of you, and we want to wish you all the best, not only in your Turning Point USA endeavors, but everything that you strive to reach for in the years ahead.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Paige, we're going to ask you to come back because we want you to keep us updated on your chapter there. So keep your phone open. Keep your phone open.
All right, will do.
Thanks, Paige.
All right, you take care. That's Paige Schulte. I love when you go to the Mizzou TPUSA page. At the very top, the banner says, "Socialism sucks." Sounds like college kids.
That's direct and to the point.
Indeed. What a wonderful young lady. Hope for the future definitely springs eternal. All right, one segment left. Chris is going to talk about John's in the divorce rate.
Yes.
And more.
Get your mind out of the gutter.
Indeed, you all should. When we come back, we'll talk about that and prepare you for Larry Connors USA here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 1019, 94.1 News Talk STL.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We've got a cool night tonight, definitely a colder start, low down to 40 degrees as the clouds will be clearing tonight and will be dry tomorrow with plenty of sunshine, but a cool day, a high of 57 degrees and mostly sunny skies. Another cool start on Friday, around 41 for the low, so outlying areas again will be into the upper 30s. But the afternoon high for Halloween Friday is 60 degrees. Trick-or-treat time starts in the upper 50s and drops to the low 50s. That's cool, but it'll be dry, and that's the great news for Halloween. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
So Karen Catalina is going to join us with her husband Thursday at 9:05, and I think we'll read my op-ed piece too that was in Red State at that time, so be with us.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but that when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good, casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need, understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Connor Roofing, you can count on Connor. Connor Roofing is now a 2-time winner of the National Best of the Best Award for customer satisfaction for roofing, storm damage restoration, siding, gutters, both residential and commercial. Please visit ConnorRoofing.com for an estimate. And remember, you can count on Connor.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
And darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
If you haven't stocked up for those trick-or-treaters yet, you may be spooked when you go buy some candy this year. That's because candy costs are soaring, especially for cocoa prices. And right now it's leading to a sugar shift.
Yeah, it looks like trick-or-treaters, you're likely going to get less chocolate and maybe more gummy candy or just those sugary candy.
548 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. That's kind of scary now that you can get marijuana gummies. And, there's a lot of sick people out there, Tim. I would not be surprised if this is true, that sugar is up and chocolate is expensive as well. That some sick, depraved person is going to put marijuana gummies in somebody's trick-or-treat basket.
So if they can, they'll do it. I'm much more of a fan of the chocolate and the peanut butter and that stuff than the chewy, plasticky, gummy worm thingies. You know,
What are those things you used to get at the movie? They're called Dots, Joey. It kind of pre-gummy candy Dots.
Well, Dots are. Oh, no, I'm thinking of snow caps. Yep, Dots. They're the ones that pull out your fillings when you take a bite of them.
Those things are horrible.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. It's like eating plastic. It's almost as bad as that candy you used to get that just came in the orange and black wrappers.
Yeah,
it'd be all black wrappers and all.
It
what was that?
It was
peanut butter, wasn't it?
It was supposed to be caramel.
Was it?
But it was like plastic.
Yeah.
It was literally. I really felt like it was leftover plastic that they just wrapped in a wrapper. The other thing, I don't know, this may be sacrilege for me to say this. I don't like Skittles either.
I don't either.
I feel like you're chewing on plastic. Maybe you are.
Skittles are fake because when you see them, you think they're going to be really sweet, like M&Ms or something really tasty, and they kind of rip you off.
Yeah, I'm just old school when it comes to candy. I love the chocolate, peanut butter, stuff like that.
What did you ever think, Tim, when you went trick-or-treating and you went to the house where the people gave you like the popcorn, apples, or those type of gifts? What did you think of those folks?
I was like, okay, I get it. This is one day of the year that we're supposed to be unhealthy. I understand. I like a good apple.
Yeah.
I try to eat lots of fruit, but I do that year round.
Yeah.
Can I have one day where I don't have somebody shoving something from the food pyramid at me?
Now tell me this. Were you one of those type of trick-or-treat houses where when the people rang the bell, you came and you gave each kid some candy in their thing? Or are you like the lazy type where they just put a bowl out and like, help yourself?
We've done it both ways. So some years, a couple years, my neighbors would have like a chili thing,
Yeah.
And if we're going over to the neighbor's house, then we put the bowl out and we say, take what you'd like, but don't empty the bowl,
Exactly. In a half hour, it's gone.
I generally like handing the can. I like coming to the door and seeing some of these kids, man, are creative.
Yeah.
I love the really creative costumes because I tried to do what I could with costumes. Of course, I was Indiana Jones a bunch of times with the fedora and the leather jacket and all the whip and all that. But some of the, that was about as far as my ingenuity went. Some of these kids and the creative costumes they put together are hilarious.
My favorite costume, and I'm really dating myself here, Tim, you may have been a little young for this, but there was a show in the early 70s called Banana Splits. And it was a kid's show. It was live action, but the people were in these costumes and everything. And I had the dog character, Banana Splits dog character, face mask, and the whole get up.
Mm-hmm.
I know there are a lot of people listening to this show. They remember Banana Splits. Great show. Look it up on the internet.
Well, you know what?
You can see the opening of the show. They're at this amusement park in California somewhere. And they all of them are in their characters and they're acting like complete idiots, but it's was a great kid show. This show was like out in like 72, 71. It's a very, very early show, but I love Banana Splits.
We got a bunch of the ladies on the Facebook page.
Do they remember Banana Splits?
Let's see if any of them do. I'll keep an eye. I'll keep an eye on this. If Vic is on our Facebook page this afternoon. Hello, Vic.
I know Vic was probably a senior in high school during Banana Splits there in 1970. Not to age you, Vic. The reason why I was going through this Halloween thing is in 1958, former President Dwight Eisenhower and Mamie Eisenhower decked out the White House with Halloween decorations for the first time in presidential history, which surprises me. I would have thought that there would have been earlier presidents that would have decked the White House. But the First Lady, she hosted a lunch for wives of staff members of the state dining room. Skeletons were hung from the wall lights. Yellow jack-o'-lanterns brightened the halls, and shocks of dried corn filled the corners of the room. So it's only about 70 years that Halloween has been celebrated in the White House. I know I saw something last week that said Hillary and Bill Clinton dressed up as John Madison and Dolly Madison.
Okay.
I don't know why they decided to do that, but who knows? All right. Did you know that the divorce rate in the U.S. peaked around 1980 at 22.6 divorces per 1,000 married women, but it has now declined. It's fell slightly to 20.5 in 2008. It has fallen more sharply in the past 15 years to 14.4 divorces per 1,000 married women in 2023. Tim, you are a happily married man. I've known for 20, 25 years at least. Take a guess at this. As a former attorney, why do you think the divorce rate has gone down? Is it the old saying, it's cheaper to keep her?
That may be part of it. I hope it's people rediscovering the wondrous nature of fidelity and of committing your life to another. What a selfless act, right? And it really is to commit yourself to another person forever. I know some guys like to joke, oh my God, forever. That's a really long time. But I couldn't imagine being with anyone else. And I think on most days, Suzanne feels the same on most days.
On most days.
Yeah, on most days. And we have that talk every few years. And she says, number one, it'd be too much work to find somebody else.
Right.
But number two, she is, in all seriousness, she has from time to time said something nice to me, like, I could not imagine my life without you. And so I absolutely feel the same. And I hope people are rediscovering that because, it would be nice if it was viewed in more sacramental fashion, which it's supposed to be.
How many years?
You put me on the spot with the numbers again. That would be 23.
23. I was close.
23.
I said 20 or 25.
You're right.
So I was right in the middle.
Right in the
almost.
bullseye. Yep, 23.
All right. I teased this by saying divorce and Johns. And of course, Johns is the name that are used for men who patronize women of the night, the oldest profession. But that's why I said don't go there, because I'm not talking about that. Tim, did you know there are 11 senators named John? 12 if you count John. There's a guy named Jon. There is Senator Jack Reed. There is John Thune. There is John Barrasso. There's John Kennedy. There's John Boozman. There's John Curtis. There's John Cornyn. There's John Hickenlooper. There's John Hoeven. There's John Fetterman. John Ossoff, he's the Jon, and John Husted, who also is Jon.
11 Johns.
12, if you count the Jons.
12, and Democrats and Republicans.
Exactly. That's
pretty wild.
That's like a useless trivia fact there, I think.
I like that. I never would have, if you would have said, what's the most common name amongst U.S. senators, I don't know that I would have said John, but it is indeed.
Here's something that really amazes me, and we don't really deal with a lot of traffic because we come into the to the radio station
off
at
hours,
3:30 in the morning, 3:30 in the afternoon. But did you know that the average U.S. car commuter is spending a record 63 hours annually stuck in traffic? That's the most since 1982 when the data set began. 63 hours.
Good grief.
In traffic in a year. That's That's a long time.
It's sad. That's why you should listen to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps podcast, Tim Jones and Chris Arps podcast, and or any of our other podcasts. You know, if you're going to spend that much time in the car, prepare for it.
Yeah.
And do something useful, like listen to News Talk STL or anything else. And, you know, other than just sitting there staring at the windshield.
Well, here's something that might help with that being stuck in traffic. GM announced the other day it's introducing a, quote, eyes-off autonomous driving system on their consumer SUV in 2028. No major automaker has yet commercialized self-driving technology that legally allows car owners to travel from place to place in their vehicle without keeping their eyes on the road. The system will debut on the Cadillac Escalade IQ electric SUV. Tim, I know you're in the market for a Cadillac Escalade. Starting with highway driving and eventually transitioning to urban roads. This allows you to do something else at the time, connect with others, catch up on work, your favorite TV show. Your thoughts on that, Tim?
A lawyer's dream. Yes, indeed. You know what? I think we'll get there someday. I would just urge everyone not to rush something like this.
Joy, would you get a Cadillac
about you,
Escalade
Joey?
where you don't have to, you can do homework, watch TV,
Produce
other
movie,
things,
produce clips?
Exactly.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Work on my Christmas presents where I'm knitting people different blankets.
Oh, wow. I've never figured you as the knitting type. There,
Well, of
Joey.
course.
Indeed.
All right, great show today as always. Coming up, Larry Connors USA. He's going to have Gordon Chang. He's a China expert. He's going to talk about the turmoil for China and stay tuned for this, the latest story behind when Larry tested a bulletproof vest. Larry, what are you doing? All right. You've been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
Report cards are a good way to show how well your kids are doing in class and where they might need improvement. We at the Show Me Institute believe schools should get grades too, so parents can see how their child's school compares to others. That's why we came up with the Missouri School Rankings Project. Click on the website moschoolrankings.org and it's all there. Rankings and letter grades for all the schools in Missouri. The rankings are based on categories such